Got the tech tonight, 5th of the season.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I got a technical for clapping. So, like, if we should all just go on the calendar now and pick a game that I'm going to be suspended for if I'm going to get technicals for clapping. I asked Gerda. Gerda said that I got a technical for clapping. So, if any technical should be taken away, it should be that one. If it's truly for clapping, that's what they said they gave it to me for was for clapping. So it's just ridiculous. I don't understand it at all.
5 technical fouls, 5, and the latest one for clapping, not yelling at a ref, not throwing equipment, clapping her hands. And Caitlin Clark just did something we rarely see from superstar rookies. She called out the officiating by name on camera with zero hesitation. That clip you just watched isn't frustration, that's calculated defiance. She's drawing a line in the sand, and the question everyone's asking is whether the WNBA is about to make the catastrophic mistake of suspending their only mainstream draw over a clapping incident.
I mean, I'm going to play with emotion, I'm going to play with passion, and if they're going to give me a technical foul for clapping, then so be it. That's their choice, and the league can come back and review that play, and I'd love to hear what they say of the reasoning of why I got the technical foul in that situation and why other players on their team didn't get a technical foul in that situation. If anything, split it. Okay, fine. Everybody gets a technical foul. That wasn't how they were handed out. So I'd love to know, but obviously that's what I went to Gerda and said. I said, why'd you give me a technical foul? She said, because I was clapping and instigating. I said, okay, then you just don't like competitive basketball.
Listen to the specificity in her response. She's not being vague. She's putting the referee's explanation on record. You were clapping and instigating and then systematically dismantling it. She went directly to the official Gerda and got a verbal explanation that she's now broadcasting to millions. That's not an emotional outburst. That's someone who knows exactly what they're doing, building a public record of inconsistent officiating. And she's right to be skeptical, because what happened in that Mercury game wasn't just bad officiating. It was a masterclass in selective enforcement.
So
the question is the league actually going to fine her for these comments? Because that's just going to be a whole new set of drama. They're going to get destroyed if they end up doing that.
Players on their team didn't get a technical foul in that situation. If anything, split it. Okay, fine. Everybody gets a technical foul. That wasn't how they were handed out. So I'd love to know, but obviously that's what I went to Gerda and said. I said, why'd you give me a technical foul? She said, because I was clapping and instigating. I said, okay, then you just don't like competitive basketball. And that's just facts. That's just reality.
Now here's where the league has a massive problem. Caitlin Clark just told the world she's going to keep playing with emotion regardless of the technical foul count. She's essentially daring the WNBA to suspend her. Think about the position that puts Commissioner Kathy Engelbert in. You've got a rookie who's driving unprecedented television ratings. We're talking games pulling 3.2 million viewers on network television, numbers this league hasn't seen in 2 decades. And you're going to bench her because she clapped after a good defensive play? The optics are catastrophic no matter which direction the league goes.
And then we had a near explosive incident, and I guess in a way, it was still explosive. You had Mahisha Hines-Allen that got run out of the game, thrown out, right? You got Alyssa Thomas throwing an elbow directly into what looks like Caitlin Clark's chest or face or something of that nature. You got the Phoenix Mercury out here talking about they can do anything they want to, basically. And then you got a game tomorrow night between the two.
But let's back up and talk about what actually happened in Phoenix, because the technical foul controversy is only part of the story. The Fever and Mercury played back-to-back games, and that first matchup on the night in question turned into something ugly in the fourth quarter. The game dragged on for what felt like an eternity with constant stoppages for fouls. Tensions were already high, the Mercury were getting blown out, and that's when things escalated. Mahisha Hines-Allen got ejected after what appeared to be a confrontation. Then came the Dejounte Carrington elbow, a clear deliberate strike that somehow didn't result in an ejection. And then Sophie Cunningham's finger-pointing incident that's now been memed into oblivion.
Bionic elbow right here. Let's just, right there. Throwing this elbow, that's not instigating. Throwing the bionic elbow is not instigating, right? We're not doing that.
The illegal contact is initiated by Caitlin Clark. She comes across the arm, into the body and hip of Thomas. The result of the play will be 2 free throws because of the defensive foul, and we're in the penalty. This is a successful challenge. The timeout will be charged to Indiana because they're due, Phoenix will retain their timeout.
Just
Watch this sequence carefully because it perfectly encapsulates the double standard Clark is facing. The officials reviewed a play where Carrington threw an elbow directly into Clark's upper body. You can see the contact, it's not subtle. The review takes several minutes. And the ruling? Offensive foul on Caitlin Clark. Not a flagrant on Carrington for the elbow. Not even a common foul on Carrington. They called it on Clark for initiating contact with her arm and hip. The Indiana Fever challenged the call, and somehow the officials upheld their own incorrect decision. That's the same game where Clark got a technical for clapping. Let that sink in. Throwing an elbow gets you free throws. Clapping gets you a technical.
A targeting situation in the game tomorrow evening. And I think this sucks that they got to play each other again this quick, right after all of the animosity. You got Sophie Cunningham, that's now the meme of the year, with the finger pointing situation. I'm not sure what DeWanna Bonner. I don't know why she got so worked up over some finger.
And here's the part that should genuinely concern the league office. There's another game between these two teams scheduled immediately after this controversy. Less than 24 hours later, the Fever and Mercury have to play again. The Mercury just got embarrassed on their home court. They lost their composure in the fourth quarter, started playing physical and dirty, and still lost. Now they're angry, they're frustrated, and they have an immediate opportunity for retaliation. The question isn't whether there will be tension in that second game. The question is whether the officials are prepared to actually protect players when things inevitably escalate.
We should all just go on the calendar now and pick a game that I'm going to be suspended for if I'm going to get technicals for clapping. I asked Gerda. Gerda said that I got a technical for clapping. So if any technical should be taken away, it should be that one. If it's truly for clapping, that's what they said they gave it to me for was for clapping. So it's just ridiculous. I don't understand it at all.
This is where Clark's comments become really significant. She's not just complaining about one bad call, she's exposing a pattern. She specifically points out that other players on the Mercury were doing the exact same thing, clapping, celebrating, showing emotion, and didn't receive technical fouls. She's forcing the league to explain why the rules apply differently to her. And she's doing it in a way that's impossible to ignore because she's putting the referee's own words on the record. When she says, "I asked Gerda why I got a technical and she said because I was clapping and instigating," that's not paraphrasing. That's a direct quote from the official's mouth. The league now has to either back up that explanation or admit their official was wrong.
Back.
Directly or specific words, but I don't know. I appreciate having my back. You know, it's nice to have a teammate like that that's always going to go to battle for their teammates. And, you know, I thought we did a good job of refocusing and trying to directly or specific words, but
Yeah, she appreciates it. It was good looking out last night. But Sophie's turned into the meme of the year. I mean, they have put Sophie Cunningham in all kinds of situations in memes right now. Tomorrow night.
Now let's talk about what makes this situation fundamentally different from typical referee complaints. When most players criticize officiating, the league can fine them, issue a statement, and move on. The player might lose $15,000, but the news cycle continues. That calculation doesn't work with Caitlin Clark. If the WNBA fines her for these comments, it becomes a major story. If they suspend her for accumulating technical fouls, it becomes a national controversy. Because unlike every other player in this league, Clark has a fan base that extends far beyond traditional WNBA audiences. People who've never watched women's basketball are planning vacations around Fever games. They're buying tickets months in advance, booking hotels, making it an event. And here's the uncomfortable truth the league doesn't want to acknowledge. Many of those fans are showing up specifically because they've heard Clark is getting targeted, disrespected, and physically abused on the court. The controversy is part of the draw. The narrative of the underdog superstar fighting against a league that doesn't appreciate her is compelling television. So when Caitlin Clark gets a technical foul for clapping while DeWanna Carrington faces no consequences for throwing an elbow, it reinforces that narrative. It validates every complaint her fans have been making about biased officiating and veteran players being allowed to play physical against her without repercussions. The Phoenix Mercury have become the perfect villains in this story. Sophie Cunningham's pointing and taunting, Carrington's elbow, the general physical play, it all feeds into a storyline that's generating massive engagement. And the officials, whether intentionally or not, are playing their part by enforcing rules inconsistently. The technical foul for clapping is so absurd that it's impossible to defend, which is exactly why Clark is calling it out publicly. She knows the league can't justify that call. She knows her fans will be outraged, and she knows that outrage translates into viewership. But there's a real danger here that goes beyond ratings and narratives. When you have two teams playing back-to-back games after a contentious physical matchup, and the losing team clearly lost their composure, you're setting up a situation where someone could get hurt. The Mercury were getting blown out, started playing frustrated basketball, and things got chippy. Now they have to play again immediately. The natural human response is to come out aggressive, to try to set a physical tone early, to send a message. And if the officials don't establish control from the opening tip, if they let that physicality escalate the way they did in the first game, someone's gonna take a cheap shot that crosses the line from competitive basketball to dangerous play. Mahisha Hines-Allen getting ejected was actually a good thing for the Fever in that context. Clark said it herself. She appreciates having a teammate who will go to battle for her, who will stand up when opponents are targeting her. That kind of enforcer mentality might seem outdated, but it serves a purpose. It sends a message that you can't just abuse the star player without consequences. But the problem is, when the officials don't protect players, when they let elbows go uncalled while giving technicals for clapping, they're essentially telling teams that physical intimidation is acceptable. And that creates an environment where retaliation becomes necessary. The broader issue here is about what kind of league the WNBA wants to be. Do they want to be a league that protects skill players and emphasizes the kind of high-level basketball that attracts mainstream audiences? Or do they want to be a physical, defensive-oriented league where veterans can use their experience and strength to neutralize younger, more talented players? Because right now, they're trying to have it both ways, and it's not working. They're marketing Caitlin Clark as the face of the league, putting her on promotional materials, celebrating her record-breaking performances, and benefiting enormously from the attention she brings. But on the court, they're allowing her to be officiated differently than other stars, to be subjected to physical play that would draw flagrant fouls in the NBA. And let's be clear about what we mean by officiated differently. This isn't about Caitlin Clark getting superstar calls